subscribe to the channel and like. Happy viewing. DC cop testifies he struggled to breathe as former NYPD officer attacked him on January 6. Officer Noah Rathbun said he struggled to get former NYPD officer Thomas Webster off him at the Capitol. That's not a position that anyone wants to be in. According to a DOJ court filing, Thomas Webster appears to assault a federal officer with a deadly weapon outside the U.S. Capitol on Jan 6, 2021. According to a DOJ court filing, Thomas Webster appears to assault a federal officer with a deadly weapon outside the U.S. Capitol on Jan 6, 2021. Department of Justice Washington, a D.C. police officer who was attacked by a former New York City cop during the Capitol riot testified that he was scared and in pretty bad shape after the rioter swung a flagpole and then tackled him to the ground as the pro-Trump mob breached the barricades. Metropolitan Police Department officer Noah Rathbun told jurors on Wednesday that police were overwhelmed by a hostile crowd at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Rathbun, who did not recall ever being on the grounds of the Capitol building before, said that it was clear the sea of people could easily overtake the officers protecting the building. Former New York City police officer Thomas Webster, whose defense team concedes that he grappled with Rathbun, is attempting to convince jurors that Rathbun invited the attack. They have also claimed that Rathbun punched Webster after Webster pushed against a barricade. Footage from several angles shown in court shows that Rathbun struck Webster with an open hand only after Webster shoved the metal barricade into him twice. Rathbun described the contact with Webster's face as incidental. Webster's attorney, who told jurors on Tuesday that his client showed restraint on January 6, repeatedly accused Rathbun of punching Webster and tried to claim that Rathbun provoked and incited the attack. "I didn't provoke this encounter," Rathbun testified, adding that it would be both unlawful and unwise to have done so when the mob clearly outnumbered officers. Video shows Webster, a Marine veteran, angrily approaching the police line, vulgarly calling Rathbun a commie and pointing his finger at him before pushing the barricades. "Come on, take your ST off," Webster says. "Take your ST off." While he said it was not nice to hear the verbal attacks, Rathbun testified that he'd heard those things in the past and wasn't too fazed by them. He said it would never be permissible to strike a civilian in response to verbal abuse. Rathbun testified that the man later identified as Webster dragged him to the ground and tried to rip off his gas mask. "He grabbed my helmet and started pulling me forward," Rathbun testified. "The chin strap was across my throat, I was not able to breathe." Thomas Webster at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Via FBI I struggled to get him off me, Rathbun testified. "I felt like I was being kicked. That's not a position that anyone wants to be in," Rathbun said. Rathbun testified that he was scared, in pretty bad shape, and had trouble breathing because tear gas got stuck in his mask after Webster tried to rip it off. Jurors were also shown photos of Rathbun's bruised legs, which were injuries he said he sustained during the encounter. Later, in a separate incident inside the U.S. Capitol Rotunda, Rathbun's hand was cut open by a different rioter's weapon. He described seeing blood all over the palm of my hand after grappling with rioters inside the building. He ended up being taken to the hospital by ambulance, where he received stitches. At least 140 police officers were assaulted on January 6, and a review of body camera footage has found approximately 1,000 events that may be characterized as assaults on federal officers, according to the Justice Department. Nearly 800 defendants have been arrested by the FBI in connection with the January 6 attacks. Previously reported that the FBI has the names of hundreds of additional Capitol suspects who have not yet been arrested, including dozens whose images are currently featured on the FBI's Capitol Violence website. The Biden administration has asked Congress for an additional $34 million to fund as many as 130 positions to prosecute Capitol attack cases. Rathbun initially didn't report being assaulted by the man later identified as Webster, but said he understood that all of the body camera footage was going to be reviewed and that he thought the focus was on even worse assaults. "A lot of officers were injured that day," he said, noting that officers died after the attack. Rathbun described the events of January 6 as tragic. "I think it's sad," Rathbun testified. "I try not to think about it. I just think it's unfortunate to be at the nation's capital and be treated like that by another citizen," Rathbun said. That's all, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.